NBA free agency period tips off tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It's already shaping up to be one for the history books. The Toronto Raptors, of course, took home a championship for the first time in franchise history this year, but now face the prospect of losing Kawhi Leonard, this year's Finals MVP. He officially becomes an unrestricted free agent tonight and has scheduled meetings with a few different teams. Now, for more on Kawhi Leonard, impending NBA free agency, we are joined by Blake Murphy. Blake is a Raptors writer for The Athletic, previously ran the Toronto Raptors blog, Raptors Republic. Blake, stakes very high going into free agency tonight in so many ways, too. What happens to Kawhi Leonard is going to dictate what happens throughout the league. Explain that.
Yeah, so there are, 7 to 8 maybe marquee free agents. There's a ton of cap space around the league. I think the number is 210 free agents total. So, two-fifths of the league is a free agent. But it's these big guys like Leonard, Durant, and Kyrie Irving who they're kind of the first domino to fall. Once you know where they're going, once you know if they're pairing up, is the biggest thing this time around, because a couple teams could pair Kawhi with a Kevin Durant or a Jimmy Butler or something like that. Once you know where those guys are going, then you can get to kind of the second and third tier guys, and everyone kind of knows what their cap sheet looks like. But everyone, with a player of Kawhi's magnitude, everyone, especially the Raptors, will wait and see what Kawhi's doing and see if they can get in the mix for Kawhi before they look at other options. So
the other teams would be thinking, if we don't get Kawhi now, we might be able to go get option B or maybe 2 option Cs, yada, yada.
Exactly. And some teams will move more swiftly to those options. If you are a team that knows you don't have a chance at a Kawhi or a Kevin Durant, maybe there's an opportunity to get one of those option Bs or option Cs immediately while other teams are waiting it out. If you're the Raptors, though, they are waiting on Kawhi, and everything will kind of hinge on what he does.
Right now, we are in the height of the silly season, as my father calls it, because we don't know and we are doing a lot of guessing. But it's your turn to guess now. What do you make of where Kawhi is going to end up?
Yeah, it's tough because none of this stuff is ever coming from Kawhi's camp. Kawhi's camp rarely leaks, and if they do, it's for a purpose. And there's no purpose here. He's the top free agent on the market, and he can get a max from pretty much wherever he wants. The Clippers buzz has been real all year. That's somewhere that would allow him to play in LA. It would allow him to not have the kind of pomp and circumstance of the Lakers. It would allow him to maybe pair up with another star as well. The Lakers' allure is obvious. You play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and you're on the Lakers. The Knicks could kind of elbow their way in there. I don't see as much appeal being with the Knicks as I do with the Lakers or Clippers. So I think Kawhi's going to meet with and consider all of those teams. I think on paper, the Raptors make the best case. They can offer more money. They just won a championship. He trusts the medical staff. But the big thing is going to be how badly do him and his family want to live in LA? That's something the Raptors, they can't really uproot and go to California. So that could be the one big factor against them.
Do you think teams leak this sort of information? Does it make it, I don't know how to describe it, like a sexy idea or something like that, or like where the Lakers are like, hey, maybe you should come here, and then they get a reporter to say something.
Yeah,
like
so the important thing is this time of year is anytime a report comes out, these reporters are all very good and they're being told this stuff. It's usually coming from either the team, and obviously, that's going to always be positive information. Every free agent is interested in the Lakers. Every free agent thinks the Clippers are a good destination. Or it's coming from an agent. Usually, that's not as much the case for these max guys because there's no upside to leaking information. Like Leonard's getting the max no matter what the market thinks of him. With the Lakers, with the Clippers, with the Kawhi stuff, it's probably coming from the team side, the team trying to signal to not just to Leonard, but to everyone else on the market, hey, we're a destination, stars are considering us, this is a good situation.
We talk about it's the official beginning of free agency tonight, and if you follow sports media, there has been the unofficial free agency, and a lot of tampering is the word that gets used. These players aren't supposed to be even talking to other teams. And yet I've seen credible reporters saying numbers attached with other players already, that they're going to get X years with Y money. What is going on with the tampering? Does no one care?
So this has always been a thing. This year, they even tweaked the timeline to try to make it less of an obvious thing where June 29th, teams could set up meetings with players. And tonight at 6 p.m., that's 6 hours earlier than it normally opens. They tried to get ahead of it.
6 hours?
I know. This stuff has always happened. There are always, at 12:01 when free agency opens, there are a flurry of deals that are agreed to. So obviously it's happening behind the scenes. This is the worst I can ever remember it in terms of all of this stuff leaking. Usually the teams and the agents have done a better job pretending they're not tampering and at least waiting till it opens. Now it just seems like nobody cares. And if you're a team, what do you, if they slap you with a fine, if it costs you $500,000 or $1 million and it gets you Kawhi Leonard,
yeah, you just
you'll
spent
pay that
$200 million on him.
Exactly.
Jeez.
So unless you leave a paper trail like the Timberwolves did with Joe Smith back in the day, and they got penalized a couple of draft picks, there's not a lot of downside the way the rules are currently constructed.
So it's kind of one of these things that the team's just like, it is the way that it is. So the Raptors, even though people might be tampering with Kawhi Leonard right now, they just kind of got to just take it.
Yeah, the Clippers got hit with one fine during the year for tampering. Doc Rivers made some public comments, and I think that was more of a buildup of, you guys have been following Leonard around and leaking information all year.
Yeah.
But this time of year, there's no, if the Raptors had cap space and could chase someone of Leonard's ilk this summer, they would be doing the same thing too.
It is the silly season, right?
It's very much so.
We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
That is Blake